with all of these teams. Look, before the season started, WNBA GM selected Paige Beckers as a player they would most like to start a franchise with. What's your reaction to that?
Well, all those GMs probably going to get fired because this is a money business, and the money is about Caitlin Clark, who is the player who has made, never in the history of the WNBA have we had a player force teams to get into larger arenas. I've never seen that happen. And so if you're the GM, you're obviously...
That reaction you just heard? That's a three-time WNBA MVP and Hall of Famer publicly stating that general managers should be fired for their player evaluation. Lisa Leslie didn't hedge, didn't soften it, didn't play politics. She went on ESPN with Stephen A. Smith and delivered one of the most direct criticisms of WNBA front office decision-making we've seen from a league legend. And the controversy she's addressing reveals a divide that's been building all season.
Supposed to be bringing in money. That's revenue.
Right.
I'm going with Caitlin Clark.
Now, that is a fact. There's nobody who has brought in the bacon like Caitlin Clark, the tide that has lifted all boats. All these chicks is getting paid largely in part to the influx that Caitlin Clark has single-handedly, yes, I said it, single-handedly brought into this league. They should be bowing and saying thank you. Now, I feel like...
Here's the context that makes this significant. Before the 2024 season started, WNBA general managers participated in a survey asking which player they'd most want to build a franchise around. The results? They selected Paige Beckers, who at that point hadn't played a single minute of professional basketball. Not Caitlin Clark, who was coming off a college season where she averaged 31.6 points per game and broke the NCAA all-time scoring record. Not the player who was already forcing arenas to relocate games to larger venues before even being drafted. Lisa Leslie's response wasn't subtle. She called it a money business and pointed to something unprecedented in WNBA history. Never before has a single player forced multiple teams to move games to larger arenas just to accommodate demand. That's not normal rookie impact. That's generational.
Everyone involved, training staff, everyone is held accountable by Caitlin Clark's fan base. In the WNBA, they're not used to that. These GMs are used to skating by with nobody caring about their offseason, nobody caring about if they did good in free agency, no one really giving a damn about if they hit in the draft or not. And they're not used to a large group of passionate people actually holding them accountable to do a good job, and they don't like it.
But there's a layer to this that goes beyond just business metrics and attendance numbers. Clark's fan base operates differently than what WNBA organizations have dealt with before. They're massive, they're passionate, and critically, they hold everyone accountable. Front office moves, coaching decisions, roster construction, free agency signings, draft picks, everything gets scrutinized by millions of people who actually care about the outcomes. Think about what that means for a general manager who spent years making decisions in relative anonymity. Suddenly, every move is being analyzed by a fan base large enough to trend on social media, generate mainstream sports coverage, and impact public perception of your competence. That's uncomfortable. That's pressure most WNBA executives have never experienced. And here's what makes it more complicated. When those GMs said they'd rather build around Paige Beckers, they weren't just evaluating basketball talent. They were revealing a preference for a player whose fan base won't scrutinize every roster decision, won't demand accountability for playoff failures, won't generate the kind of intense public pressure that comes with managing a genuine superstar.
I've been saying with Caitlin Clark, rising tide lifts all boats. That's how I'm looking at it. I want to know this. I'm so glad I have you here with your wonderful self and your great career. Nobody's more qualified to answer this question than you. As we look at the WNBA, we know there's a lot of great players that preceded Caitlin Clark, that paved the way for the Caitlin Clarks, and they're to be respected and appreciated and all of this other stuff. But I was one of those people that felt Caitlin Clark should have been on Team USA. I was thinking about the profile of women's basketball, anything that could uplift the profile and give more notoriety and more shine to women basketball players everywhere. It would help the sport. Was I wrong in thinking like that about Caitlin Clark and how she should have been on Team USA?
Caitlin Clark 1,000% should have been on Team USA.
Now watch Stephen A. shift the conversation to Team USA, because this is where the mismanagement gets even more obvious. The Olympic Selection Committee left Caitlin Clark off the roster for the Paris 2024 Olympics. Their explanation focused on experience, chemistry, and the fact that they were taking Diana Taurasi for her 6th gold medal opportunity. The decision sparked immediate backlash, not just from Clark's fans, but from people who understood what it meant for the sport's visibility. Lisa Leslie's response here is crucial. She explicitly says Clark 1,000% should have been on the team, and then she uses a word that cuts through all the diplomatic explanations: haterism. That's not analysis. That's accusation. A Hall of Famer is directly stating that jealousy and resentment influenced a decision that should have been about maximizing the sport's global platform.
Say the fact that she wasn't, it was stupid. It was haterism. It was BS. It was absolute baloney, man.
USA.
I don't think you were wrong. And if we roll back some of the tweets back when I said it, I don't know how we left the country without her. I said that because I felt like she is a game changer. She's moved the game and the needle in a way that we had not seen in women's basketball before. I thought she not necessarily earned a spot.
Correct.
But deserved to be there. And then, it's part of it is political. You get to pick whoever you want, but they chose to take Diana Taurasi, who got her 6th gold medal. Shout out to Diana Taurasi. I love D.
Greatest.
But I will say that I thought Caitlin Clark should have been on that team.
Okay.
1,000%.
Listen to how she frames this. She acknowledges that Clark hadn't necessarily earned a spot through traditional Olympic selection criteria, but she argues Clark deserved to be there anyway. Why? Because she's a game changer who moved the needle in women's basketball in ways the sport hadn't seen before. That distinction matters. Leslie is saying the old evaluation framework doesn't apply when you're dealing with someone who fundamentally alters the sport's trajectory. The committee chose to take Diana Taurasi, who would go on to have minimal playing time in Paris, over bringing the player who was generating unprecedented mainstream attention for women's basketball. They prioritized giving a legend her ceremonial 6th gold medal over capitalizing on a moment when the sport had more eyes on it than ever before. From a pure basketball perspective, maybe that's defensible. From a business and growth perspective, it's indefensible.
Monique Billings now, which had some depth on the inside. I think Kelsey Mitchell is a player who really could possibly win MVP this season because she is just that good. She had an awesome game and style of play with her ability to get to the basket, the crossover, the step back, nasty, getting to the rim. She's one of those players that's really, really unstoppable, and I think she can take them far. But I know there's some other teams that's going to have something to say.
So she thinks the Indiana Fever have talent, and the thing is, Kelsey Mitchell can play, but Kelsey Mitchell,
Now here's where the Indiana Fever's situation becomes relevant to this broader pattern of mismanagement. Leslie mentions that she thinks the Fever will be solid this season, points to Monique Billings adding depth, and then makes an interesting claim about Kelsey Mitchell potentially winning MVP because of her ability to get to the basket, her crossover, her step back. She calls Mitchell unstoppable. But watch what happens when you actually examine Mitchell's game. In the Fever's recent matchup, Mitchell played 30 minutes and didn't record a single assist or a single rebound. She took shots, got her points, and contributed nothing else to winning basketball. That's not an MVP profile. That's a microwave scorer who disappears when her shot isn't falling.
just watch Kelsey Mitchell play 30 minutes where she didn't log a single assist, a single rebound. All she's doing is she's just out there getting up shots. And it's one thing to be, a microwave scorer and you look to score the ball and that's your thing and that's what you do. But at some point, you have to bring more to the table than just jacking up shots. And that's the difference between the Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. Caitlin Clark can score the same amount of points as Kelsey Mitchell. But Caitlin Clark can also get you 15 assists. She can also get you 10 rebounds. It's way more to Caitlin Clark's game than there is with a Kelsey Mitchell, even though I think Kelsey Mitchell.
The contrast with Clark is stark. Clark can score 25 points and also give you 12 assists and 8 rebounds. She impacts winning in multiple ways every single night. Mitchell, when she's effective, works best as an off-ball threat. Backdoor cuts, catch and shoot threes, attacking closeouts with 3 dribbles maximum. That version of Kelsey Mitchell is genuinely difficult to guard next to a playmaker like Clark. But when Mitchell decides she wants to pound the ball for 19 dribbles per possession, running isolation after isolation, the Fever's offense stagnates. The ball stops moving, Clark stands in the corner, and Indiana becomes predictable. That's not complimentary basketball. That's someone playing for individual statistics rather than team success.
They don't know what the hell they're talking about. All of that good stuff. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you think. This Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share the channel.
So let's synthesize what Lisa Leslie revealed in this ESPN appearance, because it connects to something bigger than just one player or one season. The WNBA has spent decades building a foundation, developing talent, creating a sustainable league structure. That work matters and deserves recognition. But when a generational talent emerges, someone who can elevate the entire sport to a new level of visibility and revenue, the league's response has been resistance rather than embrace. General managers saying they'd rather build around an unproven college player than the woman who's selling out arenas. That's not basketball evaluation. That's discomfort with the accountability and pressure that comes with managing a genuine superstar. It's a preference for the familiar over the transformative. The Olympic Committee leaving Clark off the roster despite her being the biggest story in women's basketball, that's not about chemistry or experience. That's about established players and decision-makers feeling threatened by someone who's changing the power dynamics and attention structure of the sport. Lisa Leslie called it haterism, and that's exactly what it is. The Indiana Fever themselves have struggled to fully center their offense and their organizational identity around their franchise player. They've tried to balance competing interests, keep everyone happy, manage egos. Meanwhile, every successful sports franchise in history has understood a simple truth. When you have a generational talent, you build everything around maximizing that player's impact and supporting their success. Think about how the NBA markets LeBron James, Steph Curry, Luka Doncic. Think about how the NFL builds entire promotional campaigns around Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Those leagues understand that superstars drive interest, and interest drives revenue, and revenue allows everyone else in the ecosystem to benefit. It's not complicated. The WNBA has done the opposite with Caitlin Clark. They've tried to diminish her impact, pushed back against her fan base, left her off promotional opportunities, and allowed a narrative to develop that her fans are somehow problematic rather than passionate. That's fumbling a generational opportunity. And here's what makes it particularly frustrating. Clark herself has handled everything with remarkable professionalism. She's never complained publicly about the physical targeting she faced as a rookie. She's never called out the Olympic snub. She's never demanded special treatment or criticized her teammates. She's just played basketball at an elite level and let her performance speak for itself. But the league and its stakeholders keep finding ways to make things harder than they need to be. They keep choosing the path of resistance over the path of celebration. They keep prioritizing the comfort of established figures over the growth potential of embracing change. Lisa Leslie speaking out matters because she has the credibility to say what many observers have been thinking. She's a legend who built her career before the current generation, so she can't be dismissed as just another Clark fan. She's someone who understands the business side of professional sports, and she's willing to publicly state that the emperor has no clothes, that the decision-making around Clark has been objectively bad for the sport. The question now becomes whether anything changes. Do general managers start making decisions based on actual impact rather than comfort level? Does the league start building its marketing and promotional strategy around its biggest star? Do the Fever commit fully to maximizing Clark's talents rather than trying to balance competing interests? Or does the WNBA continue down this path of resistance, continue fumbling the biggest opportunity the sport has ever had, continue letting organizational politics and personal jealousies override sound business strategy? Because here's the reality that Lisa Leslie understands, and that everyone else needs to accept. Caitlin Clark is a tide that lifts all boats. Her success creates opportunities for everyone else in the league. Her visibility brings attention to other players. Her impact on revenue means better salaries, better travel conditions, better facilities for everyone. Fighting that doesn't protect the league's established stars. It limits everyone's potential. So when Lisa Leslie says those general managers should be fired, she's not being hyperbolic. She's making a straightforward business assessment. If your job is to maximize revenue and build a winning franchise, and you publicly state you'd rather have an unproven player over someone who's already demonstrating unprecedented impact, then you're bad at your job. That's not controversial. That's just facts. The WNBA has a choice to make. Embrace the transformation that Caitlin Clark represents, or continue resisting it and watch opportunities slip away. Based on everything we've seen so far, which path do you think they'll choose? Drop your prediction in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious if people think this league is capable of getting out of its own way.